Friday. Technically, it's Flow Party number 50, part 2. Joseph joined us last week to begin a live build of his Reloom Design League Series 2 winning design of Cowboy. And after, about 2.5 hours, we decided to call it quits and come back at it again. So,
yeah,
very grateful to have you back with us and continuing the build.
No problem, Eric. Yeah, as he said, round 2. I felt like it was something worth coming back to. And yeah, I was available. So I'll give a bit of a recap of where we're at. And then we can kind of, get straight back into it and see how much we can get. Don't know how long we're going to be on it today, but let's see how we go. I do feel like we are slightly in a good space because we got most of the main things kind of done.
Yeah.
I'll start here. We'll just go through the live link. I'm going to drop this into the chat so everyone has that.
Awesome.
So yeah, as you can see, starting off with, we worked on the hero intro animation. We spent quite a bit of time on this hero as we was exploring and things came to fruition. And we started to, just bring this to life in a really interesting way. One of the really nice ideas that came to me as we was building this was actually making this light flash. And I believe, I'm trying to think of his name, actually went away into another program and did the brake caliber, actually doing the brake light, which was really interesting.
Jeff,
that's it. Sorry. Yep. Jeff did a really nice little video that did the brake lever, actually doing the light. Maybe there's some way that we could use that, but obviously we need it as a PNG. So yeah, it could be that we just have it as 2 images, so one on top of the other, and then you can just fade one in out, and you just see you won't see a full smooth movement to the brake caliber, but you'll see it going from open to close. So that could be an easy way to execute that. And then we've built a nice scroll animation on this hero. As we start to scroll out, we see the bike kind of like, it's kind of scaling down. Maybe it could scale a little bit more. We've got this really nice soft parallax effect on here as we move through, which is great. I will reload because we'll go into the section below. Then we added some nice animation to this section. There still needs to be some tweaks responsively. At the moment, we didn't get into so much of that detail. Some nice scrolling animations that we created with the text coming in, the count up, the lines, and then we've got this really nice scroll ticker tape with the wheel actually kind of mimicking this. So it really sets the tone as we dive into this next section. This next section, I'm hoping, is going to be pretty straightforward, to be honest. Nice, simple grid. I think there's some things that we can do with the images, create maybe some soft parallax. I did actually download the video. I scraped it from their site, so we can drop a little video in there as well. And then that idea, as I said, of just having some really nice static. So what works really well about this is we have, some really nice, framework with the render. Then we have some video material, but then we also have some kind of lifestyle. And I just love the way that they all kind of complement each other in a really nice way. So I think bringing that together with a little bit of movement, simple, but I think it would be sweet. So yeah, let's jump into it. Any questions? Anything to say before I jump in?
I think we're good. Everyone who's hopping in, please feel free to jump in with questions for Joseph as we go along. If you didn't get a chance to catch last week's, it is on YouTube, so you can go back and watch that later. But just looking forward to watching what essentially became a masterclass last week of with design and development.
Me rambling on.
So yeah, you're good.
Yeah, I will mention again, as last time, like this is an opportunity for everyone to interject. And if you've got ideas or you see things or you think there's a better way of doing it, like, I'm more than happy to hear. And a few of the guys in the last round gave some really nice little bits of little hacks. Diego gave an amazing one, something that I'd been trying to think about. And there were some others, obviously, with the brake caliper. And yeah, so this is open. Just feel as you want to jump in and kind of help out. So jumping into Webflow, I'm just going to have a look at this text quickly to see what that was on. That's on viewpoint width. So that is one of the reasons why on the larger screen this is going to be bigger. I've got a spinning wheel of death.
Awesome. Love to see that.
Oh, there you go. It just kicked back in there. That was a big pause. So yeah, because these are on viewpoint width, because I wanted something that was going to be a little bit more responsive, and just going back to this point, see how the text just scales in a really nice way. And you don't need to do this on all of it. I would, again, probably just use this for larger titles. But this is obviously going to keep scaling all the way up, even if we continue to like scale the browser even further than this. So what we're probably going to need to do is put a breakpoint in here at a larger screen size to bring that size probably to something more static, because we do want to fix that size. We don't want it to keep scaling. But the reason why we used it in this portion is because as we go through into these lower screen sizes, it still keeps that really nice proportion that we were looking for. So that's really important. And that's the reason why. Have some lag there. Was anyone else getting that?
It looked okay on our end.
Okay, so that's great. Let me just.
Yeah.
I'm getting some bad lag going on here. Let me just 2 seconds. Let me just get onto my other screen so I can just close anything that I've got open that I shouldn't have.
I saw Photoshop was open. That's
yeah, it was. So it's definitely that. Photoshop is like the worst. And I'm just going to quickly open up MaxSafe, and I might just do a little memory cleanup just to free up some stuff. Just give me 2 seconds while I do this.
You're good.
Was there any questions or anything else in there that anyone wanted to highlight just before we move on? Oh, definitely don't want that open. Okay, CPUs.
I think we're in a good spot. I know we left off last week in a really, really nice spot, pretty much here. I think we were discussing maybe making recycle scroll across the screen in one way. You'd already discussed, you'd actually already prepped the wheel moving on scroll. Yeah. So we got a lot of fun things to jump into.
Let's do it. All right. Hopefully this is better. The computer seems like it's slowed down a little bit. So that sounds good. Right. Okay. So onto this section. Let's get onto this. I mean, this is pretty straightforward. We need a section here. So we do have a section. I'm just going to copy this one and drag this below the bike. We're just going to need to get rid of the stuff inside of it, to be honest. And we can start again almost. Hide that. We've got white here. We might have one that will be black, or remember I was talking about combo classes, but we didn't really create them on this, but I'll just do this one as black because we're going to add a background of black. Then I will probably use one of our spacers. So we can put this in the container. I know I did mention this before last time, which was about, why would you use spacers rather than putting certain pattern on sections or on the titles. I just find that you land up having to create a lot of combo classes. And with the spacers, you can just create a system and just use them spacers. And then that means you can minimize having to write, extra combo classes or different things. But you could use a combination. So look, it's whatever works for you. There's no hard and fast rule here. Always remember that. Cool. Then we've got a title. So I'll probably just drop it ahead too. And we'll do the same format that we did last time, which was we'll build and we will animate at the same time, just so it makes it a little bit more interesting. This is a line center, so maybe I'll just put a line C. And again, remember I was going back to like global classes. Again, that line C, once we put an align C on that, we can now, if we just delete that, and no, actually we'd keep that on there. Sorry, I'm waffling on there. If we keep that on there, but if I wanted to make something else align C, because I've used it, it will come up, as you can see, and it will change. So that's, again, how you can think about creating that system. I will always highlight that, but it's nice to see it in practice. Let's grab this copy. Now we've got our text effect that we created, which was by the wonderful Diego with his super hack. And I just don't know why I never thought of it. But in short terms, if we just go up to see it, we wrap each of the letters in a span. And what I was trying to achieve was how we do the div hide reveal, how we reveal the text from a hidden div. So if we go up into the header, you can see how it reveals itself from effectively like a hidden div. And another hacky way was that you'd have to separate the lines and do it like that. But then semantically, the H2 would not be connected. So effectively, you wouldn't be able to use a H2 because you'd have to split it up. So you'd probably just use text. And then obviously that would lose its ranking for SEO. But Diego, as I was spanning it out, said, oh, you can then highlight the text inside of the span, create a bold tag, and then you can apply that same effect. And then the outer span text can have the overflow, and you can move the bold inside of the span. And wow, like it was a moment where I was like, shit, it makes so much sense. And it is something, after you told me, it was something that I did think about. But sometimes you think about these things and you're like, nah, that won't work. And then you leave it. But then it's about sometimes just trying them things. And that's why it's important. If you have them little ideas, just try it. Because that's how you find shit like that. So what I'll do is I won't span them all out because it takes a bit of time for us to do that. And I don't want to kind of redo things that we've done. But I will just quickly style this. I'm going to style it under the H2. And maybe I'm just checking what else is changing. Okay. So for some reason, and I believe, so some of the issues that we were getting when we were doing this effect is that the line heights were getting a little bit triggered. So we had to adjust the line heights, and they're all obviously accommodated through this. And we can do one if I show you. If I do the span text, you'll see this text jump up. And then what we had to do was highlight it again and do the bold. And then we've got a set of classes here. So it would be, I believe it was span text again. And then it was the number. So the number is obviously in the sequence, which is 1. And then it was no bold. And there you see the no bold had a certain line height to adjust that. And that actually got them right. I said I wasn't going to do it. And I'm not going to do it. Because it just takes a bit of time. And I don't want to kind of kill what we got going on here. So let's just get back to here. So we've got a simple grid. Which I will drop in. It's a 2 and a 1. We do have a 2 col grid, so we might be able to kind of reuse that 2 col. That's the alt one. No, but it is fine. That's great. We're going to drop in just a div, and we're going to call this, I normally call like image wraps or image parents. So that's what I'm probably going to call it. And then what we can do is we can give it a side. So image parent. And that's just going to be a width 100%, height 100%. I will put it on flex center because what we're going to do is we're going to create this parallax movement that I do a lot now, and it's just layering a couple of divs inside of each other, and then it's animating them where they create that really kind of in movement in between. So we create one div, and then we drop another div inside of here. We'll call this image child. I'm just going to copy another space here and put this below so we get a bit of space so we can see this. Image child, again, this is similar. So 100%, 100%. And then what we'll do is we'll actually set this to absolute. Now, as you can see, that's just pinged out of that image parent. Simple. I forgot to put the position relative on. Put the position relative. That will now be all good. And then we've got this. So we've got 100%. If we do 110, it might be the min width needs to be set on 110. It will actually give us a little bit more overlap. Now, I'm going to go back to the image parent. I'm going to set that overflow to hidden. And then what we're going to do on this image parent is I'm going to give it a combo class. So I'm going to call this height large. Bearing in mind, these heights might be the same. And for consistency's sake, if I was going to say, I would say this height should be the same as this height. So I won't give it a specific large. I think we'll just give it height for the moment. I think we can get away with that. And then we'll go with like 40 rem to start with, just to size it up. Now, as you can already see, if you look where that image parent is, and if you look at the image child, you can see that there is a bit at the top and a bit at the bottom. And that's the bit that we're going to be able to move inside of that div that's wrapped. And then what we can do is we can obviously drop one of the images on, which is this one, which is the PNG. We can drop this in here. And I'm going to give it the image cover. And there it is. And then what we're going to do now is I'm just going to Apple C and Apple V. So we've copied another section in here, and I'm just going to drag this one along. And that's now created the top bit. And now we've got the bottom bit, and I can just copy that. So now I've got that structure. That was just like super easy. I mean, I've been using Grid a lot more. I do find it like really good for like responsive. The way that you can like move different elements around, you can position it really quickly. Flexbox is also amazing, but I think there's different uses for that. But I just find for ease of use, yeah, like it's just, you saw how easy it is. And then again, when you go through the breakpoints, you can just adjust it super well as well. We've got a great, like a gradient on the background. What I'm going to do here is I'm actually going to drop the assets in. So let's get the video background, because I did nick the video, as we know. And I'm just going to call this BG video. And same again, we can do the 110% on this. Oh, that looks to be bigger. Why is that? Okay, it's because it's on the actual image chair, so we don't need to do that. I thought I had to do it on that one. And that's in there. I will go to the settings, loop video, auto play, include pulls buttons. We just remove that. I'm going to upload the video, which I just showed you. Oh no, where did it go? No, it's in my downloads. Oh, why don't I drag it onto the desktop? What did I do that for? Sorry, guys, I'm going to have to look.
You're good.
Yeah, it's just any polls for a quick question or anything like that.
Diego said in the comments he's been using grids almost 90% of the time because he can use manual position to overlay elements on a grid without having to use position absolute.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah, I mean, grid is just a breeze. It really is. And it's, once you get your head around it, I mean, it's pretty straightforward, but yeah, super nice to work with. I have got another one here, but I don't know if this is, that's so annoying. Did I drop it on my desktop? Oh, yes, I did. Haha, there it is. Have no fear. I have it. Right, back to where we was. Okie dokie. As you can see, my desktop is a mess.
No judgment from any of us.
I'll just show you. There you go. So while that's loading itself, we'll drop this other image in here, which I believe was that. We need to do this background on here. So on this background, we will do, I do believe we had a grad here. So image, if we go to the image, but is it on, it's going to be on the hero parent. So hero parent has got that linear gradient. Again, this is where that's the global class could break out here. So what we could do is I could go in here and drop a div, and I'm just going to go BG grad, and then I'm going to create this grad here. I need to go back to remember what the hexes were. So I'm going to go into here. Okay, so grab that, go to the BG grad, drop this in here for that one. That was right. What's going on now? Hang on. Why did that? Did that one? Okay, yeah, good. And then I'm just going to get the other one quickly. And this is sometimes what I do as I'm building out. If I'm seeing repeating elements where a global class could be actually good. Like sometimes where you might have to go back and rework what you've done. And this is what we're kind of doing, because I've seen this instance of a BG background appear more than once. And if we would imagine this is 4 or 5 pages, there could be 5 or 6 times where you might use that. So again, that's where this is really important to do that in that instance. So now let me just drop that one on here. Sorry. Now we have that. I'm going to delete this. I'm going to go to this. I can get rid of this. And then I could just do the BG grad that we've just created. And there we've got it. And now I can go up to here and I can do exactly the same. BG grad. There you go. So that's how you would start to create that system if you want to be able to reuse certain elements across multiple places. As I mentioned before, it does then get a little bit more technical in terms of you need to think when you're starting to go through the breakpoints that you don't start changing CSS here, because you're going to change over these elements. You need to work out what are you changing. If I'm going to change the height, this is where it becomes a little bit fiddly. So I have to delete the BG grad, make the change to the height, and then add the BG grad back. But what you should do is, if you're going to do that, just go through and quickly go like 1, 2, 3, like change every one, and then you can go back and add that BG grad, and now you can easily go through and select that, or easier, because as you go through now, we can go to the selectors, and now we can select that height, and we can change the height and go through, and again, I can change the height here without having to delete the grad off and put it back on. So again, these are just some things to think about as you're going through, and yeah, it can get a bit fiddly. I believe Timothy Ricks has just created something which pretty much alienates that kind of back and forth issue that you have with creating a global system. So yeah, hopefully that was helpful of seeing. I know most of you probably know it. So
you ever run into issues sometimes where the Webflow designer doesn't like you stacking too many global classes on top of each other? It'll say like the class doesn't exist even though you've already built it before.
Yeah, and sometimes that could actually be an override. Somewhere something is overridden, and there's a conflict with that not pulling through. So yeah, you do have to be managed. I mean, really, you don't really want to have no more than like 4 classes on any one element. Anything more than that, I think it's getting crazy. You know, it's getting too much. Even 4's a lot, and that's where you need to weigh up the pros and cons. Do you create a global class? Do you create a combo class? You know, and they're the decisions that you've got to make at some point. So, yeah. Let's do this scroll animation here. So we're on this image parent. We've done a while scroll through. We'll just call this image arrow. And then we can grab this and we can do a move. 5%, I believe. No, that's a bit too much. So 4%, and then minus 4%. You can see that creates this soft movement inside of here. It's very subtle. Again, pump that's moving up, probably 90. And then we're just going to do this for this, so we can kind of see it come together. We'll probably do like what I like to do when I'm building animations is I call it the stages of progression, or like I've said it before, like where you start with one type of animation and then how can you evolve that by adding different types of animations or combos of animations. And it doesn't have to be drastic, just increments of different types of animations. It doesn't necessarily need to be the same element. It could be other elements. Can, you know, make things feel a lot more polished rather than something that feels a bit kind of static but still animated, if that makes sense. So I'm going to publish this because I always like looking through on the live link, to be honest, rather than this link. So that comes in. So yeah, as you can see, we've got this really nice soft parallax movement on here.
And for anyone who wants to see it, the link is in the chat. It's pinned, but it's cowboy-rr.webflow.io.
So yeah, like it just adds a really nice, yeah, it just adds a really nice bit of movement on these images. Now, I think you could elevate these a little bit further. Like, do we want these? And again, this is to the people that are here. Like, do we maybe add a scrolling animation? Maybe do they fading up or popping up, or do they like come out? Or like one other idea is maybe could there be a scroll animation on it? Like as you scroll in, it kind of comes in like
it zooms a bit when you scroll.
Huh?
Like it zooms a bit when you scroll.
Yeah. So for instance, what you could do is you could go in and tweak this. So what we could do is we could do a scale 0.9, and maybe we don't want the scale to go as much, because what we've got to think about is we want to make sure the card comes up and hits the final point before we've actually got past the card. So I'd probably go 50% here. And if you look, you see how we get this kind of, like this little pop-in motion now. And, you could even do an opacity on this. Is it, I don't know, you always start at 0 most of the time. But I'm just trying to play here. And this is kind of some of the things that I do. But, do we like that? What we feeling?
Yeah, I like it. I almost wonder what it would be like if it was a bit more subtle. Instead of going from 0 to 100, it went from like 50
That's
to 100.
That's exactly what I was just going to say. So what, something like 50?
Yeah, that way you immediately see something there.
Yeah, and that's what I was sensing as well. Okay, cool. So now we've done that. That's kind of evolved it a little bit more. Let's just publish that. And the great thing is wherever we have any more of these image elements, if that animation that we created, we can now reuse that across other elements and put that onto that. As long as they're used with the same classes, then that's all good. So let's just quickly do this. Does anyone want to reload that? Eric, what do you think?
Yeah, let me load it up real quick. Let's see.
Do we feel like?
Yeah.
Do we like it? What's everyone thinking? Or do we think it's a bit much?
It feels a bit much on those other two.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
I think it's because we already have that image at the top. It's reaching its full width, and then those others two come in.
Yeah.
More narrow than that.
Yeah, I agree. Totally agree with that. So in that instance, what I would probably do is I would probably just go back, and I think, we don't really need these. I think we just keep with the image, and what we could do is instead of doing a scroll on that scroll animation, we'll just do a scroll into view, and we'll just create that animation again, but on a scroll in. So scroll in, fade, zoom, and then we'll scale, set initial position, 0.8. I feel like this is actually probably the better way, to be honest. And then we'll do the out quart, 1 second. Opacity, we was on 50, wasn't we?
Right.
And then opacity, 100. Ease, 1 second. Yeah?
Yeah.
Cool. Now, do you know what I would actually like? I mean, I could try. We would have to create another animation for these two, which is a little bit overkill, but maybe them two could come in like staggered as well. So one, like that might feel a lot nicer rather than what we had last time. But I like the way that moves in, the way that it just kind of subtly introduces itself. And then, like, to be honest, we're getting into the nitty gritty, and I would probably explore it. But as I said, maybe then these two could come in as well at a staggered. So what I could do is I've got Just do one out of two here. I mean, look, you could do this by just by the element and not by the class, but I always get into the habit of doing this because if I ever want to copy this anywhere, it needs to be done by the class. So that's something to think about again when you're building animations. Do you do it selected by element or do you do it selected by class? I always do selected by class most of the time because if I ever need to reuse that in other projects or copy it in other places, if you've got that unselected element, you've got to go through and redo that whole connecting all of them elements up. So it's really important to think about that. So we're going to create another one. We've got it here. We can just duplicate this pretty much. And then all we need to do is just, I'm going to select off it and then select back on it. I'm going to change this to class. And I'm going to duplicate. And then that one, put that on there. I'm going to do 0.2. Might be a bit slow, but a bit of a delay, but I think it will be all right, actually. And then we can, oh, that was weird. That was weird. What was that? Let's have a look at there. Oh, it's only siblings. Oh, it will have to be all. Yeah, there you go. The reason why it has to be all is because I've not got it wrapped. It's not wrapped in a parent. And again, that is definitely why we would have need to have assigned the class to that. So it pulls through. Let's check that. Let's see what that looks like. Nice.
Nice.
Let's have a little look. I kind of feel like, so I'm looking at this delay. I kind of feel like this needs to be just 0.1. It's a bit too delayed for me. And what else have we got here? We've got text. So we've got some text on this one. We've got text off them. Okay, fair enough. We might try and get a little bit of consistency with where that text placement is, but let's see. Let's go back up. Let's have a little look. Going through. Now, does that, for me, what I'm looking at is, does that actually kind of de facto the scroll effect? And I feel like, do you know what? To the bottom ones, it does. And I'm just going to remove it. And this is, again, another thing, like, I want you to see that you have to kind of go through this process of trying it to see what it looks like and then saying, do you know what? Actually, that's a bit much. You know, it's too much. It doesn't need it. And then once I've done that, I'm going to make sure that I keep that for a second. Just, yeah. Cool. So I'm going to keep it like that. And then let's drop these text elements on here. So we've got the image parent. I'm probably going to drop it here. And we're going to call this card text parent. I'm going to put this to absolute. And I'm going to ping it to that bottom corner. Oh, I hate when it does that. Is that a shortcut for breakpoints? I press 2 sometimes and it does that. So we've got that text box. We need heading in here. We'll do a H2 again. Let's copy the text. We've got the same title in here a couple of times, so we'll keep it. Why can't I get to it? That's what I wanted. Okay, let's push that in here. All right, so now we've got a bit of a z-index issue, as we can already see. So I'm going to make sure that I bring the z-index up on this. I should be able to get to that now. I can. Great. Then what we're going to do is we're going to drop a div in here. We do have a spacer small, but that's too big. Did I create a spacer extra small? I did. There you go. And then I'm going to drop in. I'm just going to drop in a text block. And we're going to do that. And then what we can do is we're going to now give this size. I'm going to use the CH unit again. I know this is on the parent, but you can still use it. So we still take that property. If we look, yeah. And then I believe we have a fade. There we go. We've got the fade there as well. That space is a little bit small. I'm going to bring that up. Cool. Oh, it's out. There's so you remember that issue that I was talking about when we built the hero, that because we were animating the hero, that there is other areas that this could potentially animate in. Mm-hmm. Is this image cover? So if we go into this load, the page load, yeah, image cover. Now I'm going to go take select, and then I'm going to go back on. Now the reason we did the image cover is because we got the two images, because we had the one on the top. So what we will do is we're just going to duplicate this, and we're going to assign the same animation to that as well, because they've got a unique class on each individual item, and they are only the unique ones to that page. I believe animation still works. Now remember, the wheel was moving. Let's check the wheel. So the wheel's not moving now. So that was the way that we needed to sort that, and these will not be animating. Remember, as I said, when we're animating stuff on the load, if we're doing it, which we are going to be by class, and that class is reused across the page, there could be other elements that are going to move. So we needed to change that and give it something different so that we didn't get that move. And now what we can do is copy this element. Now the other ones were below. So what we've got here is we've got two image parents. So what we're going to need to do is actually I'm going to drop in another div. I'm going to drop the image into that, and I'm going to paste here. Now this is going to have the absolute. So we're going to change this. I'm just going to put rel, keep it original for relative. And then we're going to get rid of these auto, and I believe auto. And now you can see that is pushed into the bottom. So that was super simple. And because I could use a spacer here, so I could just go like that and put the space there, but it needs a little bit more. So I'd maybe have to create a spacer. And is it kind of a global spacing that's used across other elements, or could this be more of a just a unique one where we can just apply it to this rel here? Rel is going to be a very, and again, this is where actually, Eric, that issue where you mentioned, this is when you're naming them combo classes, you might need to be careful, or the global classes, that you don't accidentally rename them in that area, because that's where you can obviously get them overrides happen and then glitches. Mm-hmm. So I will just maybe rel box, I don't know, just to give it something different, because I could use rel somewhere else. And I might forget that I've used rel. And then I can just put 2rem on that, and that will now space that into the right position. And again, we grab another div, drop that in here, drop that here, paste, and that's that. And they're in there, super quick, nice and easy. Let's just have a little preview. We're on to this section. These sections should be pretty quick to slide up. Yeah, I mean, some of this stuff we might be able to just skim through. I'm going to refresh. I'm also going to bring it over to my other screen, because I do like seeing it. I always hate seeing, I don't know if anyone else agrees, but I always hate seeing my designs or builds on large screens, just because they don't look the same. I don't know. There's just something about it. So yeah, look, that works great. I don't like the line height currently on the text of the, and I'm going to try and bump that up. Yeah, I love that first introduction. If you refresh the link, love the first introduction. And maybe I'm looking at this now and I'm thinking, do you know what? Does this actually come out of this card? Because now I'm getting into the consistency side thing, which is we have two cards that have it below, and then we have one card which has it inside. Now, I don't think there's no hard and fast rule here, but if I was going down a kind of design system route and keeping some consistency, I'd maybe say actually that they, if they're going to be that, then they all go in or they all go out. So what would you guys say? What would you prefer? Let's have a quick, like, just drop what you think in. Okay.
Yeah,
anyone else? Let's just see what everyone thinks. In. So everyone's thinking that these should sit in.
Yep.
Okay.
Seems to be the consensus.
Right. So I'm now gonna give you another layer of thinking right now on top of this, because we said in. Now let's go through this logically. Here, this image works fine. It works good for it to be in, so we can see the text. It's clear, it's accessible. This, okay, there could be some issues here with the text overlapping the white part of this screen. And we may not have noticed that straight away, but this is what you've got to look at the whole picture. Think about the assets that are going to be used in this space. Now, these assets might change. Now, what we would have to do is give clear direction to whoever's changing them, that we need to make sure that the lower portion of the image is free from causing any accessibility issues. And this is like so small in the detail, but this is something that you need to think about when you're actually going to make that call. Because while it works in this instance, it might not work in another instance. And there's a good rule of thumb and there's some good practice to think about, which is don't always work to the best case scenario, work to the worst case scenario. Because so many times we design to the best case scenario rather than designing to the worst case. And that's something that I learned from one of my creative directors. And it's so true, because when actually, if you do like a nice 3-column grid, but he's like, well, what happens if there's not 3 columns? How does it look if there's 2? If there's 2 cards there instead of 3? Because if it's going to be CMS, especially when you're getting into CMS items, there's a lot more dynamic content which is changing. And again, unless you set hard and fast rules of what can go in there, where the card can't be broken, the character amount is fixed, and all of these other different parameters, then yeah, maybe you can keep the integrity of that. But especially when you hand over a site to a client, that they don't always listen to what you've given them as the stipulates. So, yeah, sometimes you just have to lose that battle because it's going to be lost, and that they're going to mess it up. So in this instance, what I will do is I will test this. So I'll get rid of this rel for this one just to see. We're going to put this back into this image parent, and let's just have a little look. Now you see, there's a couple of things that I would say right now. First of all, for me, we have a visual impairment issue here, because the text is now encroaching on the visual, and the visual looks so nice when it was on its own. So again, this is giving me an answer already to what I need to do now. Yeah, you could add a gradient or an overlay to this, but you're affecting the image. And really here, this is a part where it's visual. This is where we're selling, the product itself. So I would try and avoid impeding images when they really need to shine, unless, yes, you can add a bottom gradient over the top. But for me, I'm feeling stronger about, let's just keep it out. I think that makes sense. And yeah, here again, we can move this out. Let's just get a div and drop that here, drop this in. And ultimately, we need to move that across. There you go, super simple. And then I'm just going to put the rel box on that. And there we go. Now I've got other things now. Hey, this is where I've got other issues that are now arising from that. And again, this is quite good that you see this, because again, I'm going through some of the thought process, and I'm going through how I'm actually kind of solving or breaking down some problems that I'm facing. I'm like, I really don't like this on its on its own. And there's a couple of things that we could do. Now, the space here is too tight. I just feel like, it's too tight. So maybe if you added a bit more space between these two, that might feel better. I don't really like that, so I would get rid of that. And the other thing now is actually I default back to where I was. And we've gone around the houses a little bit here, but again, this is just as I was seeing it come to life and seeing, is there changes that I could make to it? And actually, no, there isn't. And I'm gonna admit defeat there and actually say, you know what, the first design choice that I made was the right one. But I still think that was valuable going through that little process right there.
100%.
Hopefully it was. Right, now I can keep that in there for the moment. It's fine. Cool. So that's all set. Now let's move on to this next section here, which is this kind of slider section. So let's drop a div section. And then what we've got here, if we have a look, we've got the text. You remember we said as we was going to scroll through this, it was going to kind of go full, like each one is going to go full light. So this was just more of a scroll thing. I'm going to drop. There is a slider that I have, which is like this card effect, but I've got it and it's in CMS, and I don't want to drop it in here because it's going to be a bit of a faff for me to break apart now, and I feel like we can kind of shoot through some of these lower sections and kind of wrap this up.
Yeah.
And then another point, once I publish this live for Clonable, everyone can dig into that at another point. So we've got this section here. I'm going to give this a combo class. I'm going to call it slider. I'm going to go 100 viewpoint height. That will now give us that viewpoint height. We're going to drop the text in here. And what we're going to do is on that section slider, I'm going to set the opacity to opacity overflow to hidden. I am also going to put the flex properties on its center. I'm going to call this super. We do have one text. I'm just going to call it gray. I'm going to call it for 2.5. We was on like a grey, weren't we? Oh, someone's ringing me. I'll just block them from ringing me. I'm going to do black, and then I'm just going to drop it down because I'm going to keep it on black actually, and then we can do the animation through that. Let's go to the design. Let's copy this text over. Go away. Boost. Eco boost. And we can pump this up in size now. We want to do a no break-in. Cool. Let's have a look at the proportions. It's quite big on this, isn't it? So I feel like it's a 14. We want to bring this line height down because we want them kind of closer to each other. Now, what do we have in here? 1, 2, 3, 4. We have 4. I feel like 4 is... so at the moment, as I'm copying and pasting, they're not going the right direction. So that's just the flex properties, horizontal, vertical. There you go. And now we've got them in that position, which is great. We had 4, so that would mean making these a lot bigger. This big. Proportion-wise, do we feel like that's too big, or do we like the fact that it's big like that?
For consistency, it feels too big. Suddenly, it's the biggest text on the page, and
yep.
Why?
See, Eric defaulted to something that I always default to, and that is for consistency's sake. And for consistency's sake is sometimes the best sake. So what we can do is we can actually just start to drop this down, and we've got 5 bits in here. Still feels a little bit big, so I'm going to do another one. And then I'm going to drop that down again. And I'm going to have a little look. And I'm kind of feeling like that's getting more like it. I do want it to be big. So if we look at this, let's have a look at this. So this could be, okay, 18.6. There we go. That's what we want. 18.6. And there's, for consistency's sake, I'm going to delete one. And that's, we know now there's some consistency between that header size and this. And now what we need to do is kind of pull these. So I'm going to do a pull. I'm going to put it on relative, and I'm just going to do like minus 15%, and then pull, and then pull. That isn't enough, so that pull needs to be bigger. So we maybe need like get that. I'm having a look at. Let's have a look at the design. Maybe that'll give me. So it's kind of, yeah, they're like more in the middle, I would say. So something like that. So we've got a bit of variation, and actually, like, I don't know if we should get rid of no. So it does need, because I'm looking at this now, and I'm looking like this is just a bit too cropped, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And I get like consistency sake. Yeah, I said, oh, let's go with the header size, but it doesn't work. So I'm going to be like, maybe this is going to change. We'll make it a little bit smaller, like that. Maybe a bit more. That's what I'm doing. Tweaking, and one more. And I feel like, yeah, we'll go with that. Let's not get super anal right now, but cool. And then the other thing that I'm going to do is I'm just going to kind of copy all of this, and I will show you this slider. Actually, we did it on we used it on what was the website called? Otherworld. I don't know if anyone saw Otherworld. Just wait.
Oh yeah, we saw it. You're too humble. We all looked at it.
So when we get down to this section here, this is what this is going to be. Something like this.
And that's all powered by CMS in that build? Yeah,
that's all powered by CMS. So yeah, that's what's going to go there, but it's a little bit of a setup, and I don't want to go through it all. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to group. I mean, yeah, there's so many, like there is so many things that we could do with this, but just to keep it short and sweet, I'm just going to export that as a whole thing. I'm going to compress my images, as I've always said.
Mm-hmm.
Super important. If you're not compressing your images, do it.
Yeah, we talked about this on the last one. You use a tiny PNG for most of yours, right? Yeah. I know a lot of people like to use Webflow's built-in compression, and that is great for solid photos with no transparency in them.
Yeah.
But WebP doesn't do well with transparency in a lot of cases. So sometimes you have to mix your tools up to get the best result.
Exactly. Slider image. I'm just going to call this something generic. I'm going to put it absolute, and that will sit over the top. Cool. So what we're going to do now is we're going to do the scroll animation. I'm going to just duplicate this, and I'm going to just remove all of this, just so we got a bit of a spacer so we can see as we move through this section. We don't need this, which is fine, because actually what I'd probably do is I'm probably going to, instead of doing the slider buttons, I'm probably just going to have like a little drag icon like the one I had on the other one. So it doesn't, it doesn't need to be like something like that. You can drag like what you saw, that drag. So yeah, let's do this little scroll animation here. We're going to do while scrolling through, and we're going to do scroll text slider. So what we're going to do here is we go to opacity. Oh, that did the whole section. I didn't want to do that. On that, thank you. So yeah, obviously we've got it on the class, so it is going to affect others. What we would probably need to do is do like a 1, 2, 3, 4 on this again, so that we can have that. If we wanted to be able to copy this element onto another page, we would need to be able to assign these to each of the classes. We are going to do this by element. I'm not going to go into that detail right now, but what we're going to do
Something
here,
else that we talked about last week too was, instead of doing it on page load, doing a hover effect. So they all load in as that gray, and then when your mouse goes over it, they increase opacity.
Yeah, actually, you're right, aren't you? Wasn't it? I thought, yeah, I did a scroll here, didn't I? And
Multiple ways to do it, but something else we could do here instead of doing the scroll effect again.
Yeah, let's do that. Good shout. You stopped me in my tracks. Right. Okay. So this should be. So we're gonna do it on this element. We're gonna do a hover. We're gonna do a super text hover. We're gonna do opacity 20 or 10. 10.
I like 10 for right now.
And then we're gonna go to 100. I feel like a bit longer, maybe. Okay.
Yeah.
We do that on class, and then I'm going to do super text gray. I'm actually going to pull it off the gray because we want it to do it across all of these, because we've got that little combo class on there. And if we do that, it will now do it on all of them, because the other one would have just done it on the gray one. That means we would have had to create 2 ones. So sometimes as well, you need to think about that combo class and change that on here so it is only selecting the element, the original element. Get rid of that. Just check. We don't want it on all elements. We want it on only children, I believe. And again, that should be on only children. See, that's come back up and it's done that pull. So we want to make sure that we super with it. What am I doing? Super text gray. There you go. Right. Okay. Cool. So that's that. And then we can apply that to the class, I guess. And again, we'll need to just change that. Okay, we've got something going on here. Something's going on, and we know what that is, because I bet you on that hover, yeah, super text gray. Now that'll work. A couple of other little things that I saw as well. Now, I actually think that one is too damn slow. I think it's going to be like 0.4, something a bit more snappy. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right, so we've got a little bit of a z-index issue here on that image. So what I'm going to do is just bring that up, and we are going to go on a scroll. Because we've done one level of animation here, but we're going to do 2. Now, we've got an issue here. The issue is, I believe, yeah, because we are calling the class on this grey one, well, we've got the same here, but it's got a combo class. Mm-hmm. So effectively, it's still triggering this. So there is a couple of ways that we could sort that out. Got another freeze coming. My Now, one way is I'm just gonna, maybe we could just do push on these. So we add a combo class to these. I'm getting some more lag.
It's all right.
And now when we go back to this, hopefully, yeah, there you go. So we created that little bit of movement there on that, which is great. And then we can pump that up again. We can publish that. Let's have a look.
It looks good.
Oh, I love it. Oh, that's so cool. Yeah, I really like that. Super dynamic. Now, obviously, we won't get the hover when we're over the image area, which I don't mind. I quite like that. I think that's quite nice. Do you know what? I'm thinking we can make that even quicker, that animation, like that hover animation. Like 0.2, like really like almost like an on and off almost, you know?
Yeah. I dig it.
And then this would need to be bigger at the moment. So 40 rem, just propulsion wise to that area. So 30. Yeah, see, like just like that's. See, that was kind of the idea that I had as you scrolled. It went like that. That was what I was thinking for scroll. But the hover is nice because it's just a different. It's a different interaction that you might not expect on that, which I like.
And it draws attention to the fact that that area is interactive. Like for the story's sake, you want your user to stop there and scroll through the photos. So if their mouse cursor happens to catch something interactive there, now they're going to spend more time there to play around. Works out.
Great thinking and good analogy for that. Sweet. So now we're on to this, which again I think is going to be pretty straightforward. We do have that slider class. What we could do is we could actually just rename this and just call this full height. Oh, I've got the caps on. Never do that. Spelling is atrocious. PH. And then that way, like that just becomes a little bit more of a generic, more of a kind of class that's for multiple elements rather than being specific. And then we need an background orange on this. I'm going to just create a global class here.
How you doing on time, Joseph? We've been going for about an hour. So maybe
let's do this last section.
Okay.
And here, and then I think we're good.
And everyone who's joined us, if you have any questions, don't hesitate to drop them in chat or speak up. We're all just hanging out and learning.
BG orange. Let's have a little gander. Oh, that's so cool as you flip through that section. It's just fun. It's really fun. Like, and I've got some other little ideas that just came to me. So what we got in here? Let's go. We got a text in the middle. We're going to do div hide. We have this text. So I'm going to super text parent. I'm going to copy this. Love that orange and gray. Oof. That's so nice. That is so nice. And then I'm just going to give this another combo class. We're just going to call this auto BTM auto here, and that will go in the center. That's where we want it. And then we're going to get rid of that. Let's quickly. Oh, it's the commute again. So perfect. Now what we're going to do is I'm going to go up and I'm going to copy my image parent, and I'm going to drop this in here. Now you see, as we start to build up these elements, how we can how they're just starting to reuse, and when we start to build that system up, it will become easier. And that's always thinking about when you're building this, like, how can I reuse these elements? So we've got that. Now, if we go to that image parent, we know that we have the BG grad, which we can get rid of. And we know that we have the height, which we get rid of. And there you go. We've got that image now fits what we wanted it to fit. We need to get rid of that. Now, we do need to, sorry, I deleted the class, didn't I? I hate when it does that. What we need to do now is actually bring this above. So simple thing, just add a combo class to this. I'll just call it Z-index. And then 10, there you go. That's now above. Double click this, replace the image. Bing, bang, bong. There you go. Lovely. That's in. Great. Love that. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to hide this. We have intro 1, but I'm going to change this to 1. Oh, no hide. 2. Okay. So 2. We did apply that italic on there, didn't we? Okay, that's fine. I'm just going to kind of go through this. 3, 4, 5. Oh, no. 6. And 7. Lovely. Great. We can probably, now if we do scroll into view, 15, we do have scroll text animation. That's span text 1. So it's got the no bold on the end of it. Okay, so that's 5. They've all got the no bold on here. Now we can still animate these without the no bold. So we have to do that same thing. So it'd be span. We need to click this quickly. Let me go back here quickly. We're gonna have to quickly. So it's span text. And then we need 1. So let's look for 1. 1. Great. And then we're going to do span text. That was 5. There's 5. Span text 4. Span text 4. Span text 3. Where are you? There you are. I went past it. And span text 2. Now, just to recap why we've done that is because we don't actually have the bold element attached to this text. So in some cases, as you can see, it's already started to do the animation that we was looking for. Now, I know I've been in this situation before where you would probably just go and create a new animation and you would assign it to that. But it was just all we needed to do was just readjust the animation that we'd already created, but just not target that end bold class, which was attached to this text effect. And this one's set up slightly different, but the way that we got them to work for both without creating a new one was quite interesting, and it was quite a smart way of putting that together. So now all we need to do is we just need to add another 2. And now if we have a piece of text that has more, we can obviously still apply this animation to that. And again, it becomes really systematic in how we're using that and putting that together. And we will be there. Great. Let's check it. Perfect. Love it. Do you know what? I'm actually going to keep it grey. I do like the grey. We know that this one was on an italic, and it was the I can't remember. It doesn't have to be exactly the same. I'm just going to go and check what I did on that last one. What did I do on that no hide? It just had a 1.2 rem on this. Or no, it was on, I believe it was it on this? 2 rem? Put it on the padding. Sorry, I'm just going to go through my motion here. 1, 2, yeah, it was that. So we had that, didn't we? And then we had the pole. And that was the thing that we were talking about, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I've done it again. I hate when that happens. 1.2 rem. No, I think it was on the pole? We can now pull it from this side. -1 rem. So, cool. Okay, so that's that. Then we can add the image back. And that will pretty much be it, I would think. Now I'm actually going to just duplicate that section below. I'm going to delete what's inside of it. I'm going to get rid of the 3D orange just so we have a little bit of a space to flick through. Cool. Oh, we've got that animation on there. We've still got that lovely parallax movement on it, which is great. There's so many things that we could do with this visual. Like, obviously, there could be a screen here. We could do a sticky section like they do kind of have on the Cowboy site. I'm going to remove that scrolling animation that we don't want now. So this one, we don't need it. But what I am going to do, and I was actually thinking about putting this on sticky so that the handlebars actually come over the top of this area. And it creates a bit of a, that was why I was like, ooh, that could be quite nice. So I'm just going to sticky. And I'm going to put that on sticky. I'm going to put that on 0. Yeah, and as you can see, like that, kind of goes over the top, which I really like. But obviously on this, we need to just, I'm going to put a background color on these as standard. So it hides that BG orange can pull through now. And now that covers it, because when you put elements on sticky, yeah, they'll obviously be underneath. So you need to put a background color so that you cover them effectively, because it's just kind of layering and one's going behind each other. And let's have a little look how that looks. I'm gonna do it on my screen to the side. That's published. Oh, wow. I really like the way that orange comes over the top of the boost section. Yep. My only concern is that there could be some issues with the slider and how that works, because this element is going to come. It's going to come over the top, and again, this is like, while I really like the way that works, like when we get here, is that going to be annoying for me to like see how that kind of comes in? What do you think? I'm open.
That's tough. Anyone got any ideas, thoughts? It does kind of intrude on the interactivity of that previous section, the boost section.
It does. Now, do we...
Carter's saying he'd probably just take it out.
Yeah. Probably most likely as well. Maybe it's on this one. You do it. Like you get it like that. So the testimonials come over that section.
I think that's a stronger approach.
And that would be that.
Yeah.
What's Juniper saying? Orange is too much for that section. It's not too much. It's giving it a pop, an eye-watering pop. You know when the client says make it pop, there you go. That's how you make it pop. Let me just go back and refresh. Yeah, I love that. Again, I just love that wiping effect. I really love the way that it wipes over that section, and then it kind of sets the tone for a new thing. It's kind of clearing the slate almost, isn't it? As that white comes over, and it's like, okay, now we're going to go into the reviews, and which is the lower portion of the page. And I think on that note, we will wrap up.
I dig it. Very nice. Anyone have any extra thoughts, questions before we let Joseph go on about his evening? I think everyone's looking on.
Cool.
So what are your plans, Joseph? I think you mentioned you're gonna wrap it up at some point and release it as a clonable.
Yeah. Yeah, I will continue to refine and tweak this, and then I'll make it available for everyone to clone and play around with.
Awesome.
Cool question, real quick.
Yeah.
So obviously, like for this Cowboy, there's lots of great assets and images and all of that stuff, right? Like, what's your go-to strategy if you're working on a project and you don't really have great assets to use? Like, what do you typically do? You just don't work on the project, or what's your strategy?
I guess there's that classic saying, you can't polish a turd, but I think you just got to try and be smart with the assets that you've got. And I think it's about, just trying to make them work in the best possible way. But ultimately, if they are shit, then there's nothing you can do about it. And unfortunately, you just kind of have to admit defeat on that. It's just one of them. It's just how it goes sometimes. Like you can't always have the best assets to work with. Obviously, assets are a huge part in making the final design look, between looking good and looking great. It's a whole picture. Remember, it's not just about the design. It's about all of them different elements. It's the imagery. It's the copy, the color, the layout. It's all of them things put together. And if one of them's kind of lacking, then it can kind of let the whole thing down a little bit sometimes.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, it's just looking at the Cowboy, just the assets and images, just all add a lot to the experience.
I think the assets are one of the most crucial part in making, like, you can do a very simple, clean, minimal design, and you've got great assets in there. It makes it feel like wow. You look at all of them kind of examples. Cowboy. There's like, it's in terms of its design system, it's really simple, really clean, really minimal, but stunning assets. There's that Custo one, which is another, again, really, really simple, clean, minimal designs, some slick little animations, but beautiful assets. Again, it makes it look $1 million.
That's my new question for clients: is can I see your assets first before I say yes?
Yeah, I mean, that's something that I typically ask for, to see when someone's like, "Yeah, I've got a brand," and I'm like, "Okay, let me see the brand. Let me see what it's like first," because like if you've got someone that has got not the greatest brand, and then you've got to try and work with that, you know, it's going to be difficult, and it's definitely not going to be something that you're going to put in your portfolio. So that's something to think about, you know. And the key thing is working on them projects so that you know how to work with shit assets, because you can't always be guaranteed good assets. But yeah, I mean, you just have to feel it out.
Juniper asking, will you say no to someone who doesn't have good access, or will you, or a mediocre brand, will you say no to them? Sometimes. Yeah,
sometimes. It all depends. It all depends. It all really depends. The one that I am normally 90% and always saying no to is when someone asks me just to do build. So when someone comes to me and like, yeah, they want me to build, and I'm like, show me the design, and most of the time the design is not something that I would be interested in building. So that's where the problem lies in that one. If the design's good and it's something interesting and it's something where I could add the Joseph Berry touch to, then yeah, I'm down for that. But the majority, I always try and say design and dev. And if not, just design, because I don't particularly like it. It has to be something that I can really put something to, for me to want to build something out.
Makes sense. So Richard's saying he's been using Midjourney for an e-commerce direct client on potential photography for fashion shoots. So I've been using Midjourney to create assets. Yeah.
What's Midjourney?
AI. So using AI to generate some assets for client work.
I need to get into this Midjourney. Is it an AI? Yeah, I've got it.
Yeah, it's I use it. It's in Discord, so you can type your prompts in Discord and it'll render your images for you. Definitely worth checking out.
I'd be interested in someone showing me actually how to do this stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, I started using it in some of my graphic design projects. I've got some album covers I did for a local church, and the main assets AI generated and then chopped up and edited so that it, you know, it's got its own unique flavor to it. But
yeah, it's a lot of like trial and error too. Like
yeah.
Sometimes you get great results, and then sometimes you just get absolutely awful results. But it's all about kind of like fine tune and stuff. If you know your kind of like photography settings and camera settings and stuff, you get some unbelievable kind of shots. But again, anything to do with kind of 3D render effects or lighting effects, if you know all that information, you can kind of plug that in, and you get some wild results. I've been using it just for like e-com clients, just to go like, because they have like photography already, like models wearing clothes, but then you can obviously ask permission to use their photography, and you can use like an image as a prompt to work off, and then it creates like something close to it. It's not perfect, but yeah, it's a good way of like, you know, you can add a prompt in where you're going like, I want the like model to be off-centered in the photo shoot with a beach in the background or something, and it'll generate something close to that. But it's really clever. I mean, I'm still new to it, but I mean, I've been using it for like 2 months now, and I absolutely love it. Like, I'll be sat on the bus or having a coffee, and I'll just be on Discord just writing random prompts just to see what I get.
Yeah, no, I have seen some pretty wild things with it. So yeah, definitely something to get into.
Yeah. Experiment and have some fun with it. Maybe we'll do a party on it in a couple weeks.
I think we should.
I think we got a blank spot on our calendar coming up. Maybe we'll do that.
I think we should.
If you want to
do that.
If you want to do like tiled backgrounds as well for websites, you can type in your idea and then you just add the like the prompt thing like called tile, and it'll just create like a continuous tile, but it'll literally be just like one by one, and then you can just like save that out, and you can use that for like a continuous background on Webflow projects and stuff like that. It's like, yeah, super cool.
Yeah, I've seen some people use it to do mood boarding, so dropping like a brand's description in there and a product description, and it'll generate mood boards for you. It's pretty dope.
Yep, scary stuff.
Yeah, a little scary, but I think if you use it to the right way, you can get a kind of an upper hand on and streamline some of your processes.
Again, like the client that I've been working with, like they were never heard of it, never seen it, but like they were just really interested in like the kind of just chucking ideas at them, like this is what you could do, this is what you could have, and stuff like that. So yeah, super interesting.
Yeah.
Sweet. I don't know when I'm going to wrap this up with what I've got on.
That's all right.
I think soonish. I don't. To be honest, I've been so busy for the last couple of months. I actually kind of was burning the candle at both ends, and I actually had to send a job back, which was like it was quite a big budget. And I just had to say to myself, like, it was a tighter deadline, and I was just like, I've just had enough of like trying to like bang things out.
Mm-hmm.
So I said, you know what? I'm sorry, but I can't do it. I'm burnt out. I need a break. So I have actually kind of cleared myself up a little bit, but I say a little bit. There's still plenty to be doing, but there's just not urgency. And that's what I felt like I've been doing quite a bit of, was just like, we want a website and we want it in like 4 weeks, and I have to create a brand and then build it out, and it's just intense. So and like a lot of my work now is working with my 3D animator, getting assets ready.
Mm-hmm.
I've got some really cool projects that I've been working on, and I've got another one that I'm going to be sharing shortly. I'm sure some of you saw the ERA. I've got like another 2 or 3 projects that are in the pipeline to be released. I've got one that's ready to be released. I need to do a cover for that. So yeah, it's just been a lot, taking so much on and just churning it out. I feel like I'm some sort of slave driver at the moment.
You got to take care of yourself too. So we appreciate you.
Obviously, I'm getting paid all right. So it's like, again, it's not be all and end all, but I just felt it. Like, I think it's important that sometimes just take it at a more manageable pace rather than trying to take everything.
Yeah, you don't have to say yes to everything. I definitely did that when I started a few months ago, and it was too much after a few weeks.
I feel like I've been saying yes to everything for the last 2 years. I'm like, then something else comes in. I'm like, that's quite nice. Then I'm like, go on in.
Yeah.
I'm like, shit, why did I take that on?
Good, man. Well, we do appreciate you giving us your time, especially knowing all that. I really appreciate you.
No worries. I've enjoyed doing it.
Yeah.
Cool.
Awesome. I think that's it, man. I mean, you're more than welcome to hang out if you like, but I'm
gonna shoot. I'm gonna eat some food, and I'm just gonna chill out for a bit.
Good. Enjoy your weekend.
No worries. I will do. And you guys.
Take care, Joe. Appreciate you.
Cheers. See you later. Bye-bye.